Good morning, and we will go ahead and call to order our MAPS 4 Citizens Advisory Board meeting for June 6th, 2024. Item 2A, approval of minutes of the May 2nd Citizens Advisory Board meeting. They were included in your packets. Are there any changes, corrections? If not, I'll take a motion in a second to approve. Please cast your votes. Ryan, you got it?
Yeah, he voted.
How did you vote? Yeah. Okay, yay. Our IT is going to test you this morning. So thank you. The motion passes. Moving on to item 2B, receive MAPS 4 monthly financial report ending April 30th, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the revenue side for the month, $11,718,679. Fiscal year of $137,946,452, and total of $535,109,893. On the expenditure side for the month, $513,612. Fiscal year of $36,459,409, and a total of $204,589,323, and we remain at 2.9% beyond projections.
Outstanding. Any questions about the financial report? Okay, if not, I'd take a motion second. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2C, recommend approval of resolution extending time to award contract on the MAPS 4 sidewalks related amenities phase 1A, awarding contract base bid plus alternates 1 and 2, accepting the unit price to Nash Construction of $3,255,795.46 and approving the contract in bonds. Mr. Todd.
So this is our first sidewalk project. It was bid in the usual manner through the usual process. We had six bidders on this. Nash Construction, who is a pre-qualified contractor, was low bidder at roughly $2.6 million for the base, and you can see in your memo all the alternates in here, but we recommend approval, and this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. If none, take a motion in a second to approve. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2D, recommend approval of resolution transferring $230,000 from MAPS 4 Advanced Transit Option, Bus Rapid Transit Northeast, to Automobile Alley Street Enhancement.
So this comes from the coordination between the MAPS office and Public Works. They are currently doing a project on Broadway. If you go down there, you can see the work that's underway now, taking out curbs and redoing islands and parking and such. And we anticipate that there will be a platform that will be needed for the BRT on Broadway.
Okay.
Rather than have them do this work and then in a year or two or whatever it might be, reasonably soon, come in there and tear out new work and disrupt the businesses again to build this platform, we recommend that we give the money to Public Works and have them build the platform now as part of this project.
Okay.
It will be dormant. It won't be a platform, but it will be there and ready to put a structure on and ready to be commissioned, if you will, whenever the BRT is ready. So we think this is really a good option, not only for the business owners, but also to make sure we're not wasting money.
Okay.
And this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Okay. Any, Chelsea?
My question is, does this impact in any way, negative or positive, the 114 bus stops that are already approved, or can you
It
add
does
some
not.
clarity to that?
It's
Okay,
Complete separate project.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Teresa, just
Yes.
Sort of a no-brainer, but assume that transfer of funds like this is consistent with the MAPS 4 resolution. We're permitted to do things like this on as-needed basis.
Yeah, because it's being used for the same purpose.
Okay.
It's just a different entity that's constructing it.
Yeah, I assume that's the case. I just wanted to make sure our record was clear on that.
Yes, good point. Yes,
So this doesn't affect the Northeast Transit stop in any ways?
This will be part of the Northeast BRT route
Okay.
eventually. Yes,
Okay.
it is. But as I said, this prevents disrupting the automobile alley businesses again and keeps us from tearing out stuff that they might build right now and reconfiguring it.
so essentially, is this like, it's out of sequence, out of time sequence, but
Yeah.
it's the same, we would be doing the same work in a couple of years?
That's right.
Okay. So we're just doing this one a little ahead of the rest of the path. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, if not, I'd take a motion and a second to approve. Please cast your votes. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2E, recommend approval of resolution approving route alignment for MAPS 4 transit planned growth.
So as I just mentioned, the BRT, we go into the route alignment, and we have a presentation here. Members of Kimley Horner here, specifically Jill Gibson is here along with Luke Schmidt to talk to you about this. And this also comes from the subcommittee with approval.
Good morning. Thank you for being here with us today.
Hey there. Good morning. As David mentioned, I'm Jill Gibson, joined by Luke. He was here, I think, 2 months ago, and so today we have just a brief update since we were last here, and we anticipate likely going to City Council early July with the adoption of the LPA on the agenda. So today we want to walk through, just recap quickly the project schedule, the summary of our technical work to date, summarize our public involvement and stakeholder engagement, and then spend a little bit of time on our recommended alternative, and then finally we'll conclude with kind of next steps in the overall implementation. Excuse me. So project schedule. We have been working with the community and through the last year and a half, working through the Discover phase that looked at really the universe of alternatives, the many different ways in which BRT could serve both Northeast and the South. Through the Refine phase, we selected, or we narrowed down to roughly 6 alternatives, did a lot of detailed analysis, and then ultimately, today we have one recommended locally preferred alternative that we'll be looking for adoption from City Council, anticipating that in early July. And all along the way, we've conducted a good amount of stakeholder engagement and community engagement. And so we'll summarize that momentarily. So taking a step back, when we kicked off the project, we developed goals and objectives with the community members. And they were 5 key goals. First, to connect communities and resources. Second, to facilitate prosperity and growth. Next, to expand equitable mobility options. Fourth, to move people efficiently, which is really important for BRT, to attract high ridership with direct, reliable service. And then finally, to define and develop a system that is implementable, that we can put into service. We conducted a detailed evaluation, and this kind of summarizes the key evaluation criteria. And just as a reminder, BRT wants to operate on densely developed corridors to have a simple and direct route to really maximize the frequency and overall ridership that justifies the cost of the transit investment. So using these 5 key evaluation criteria, The map on the right reflects these evaluation criteria, which green is more consistent with goals and red is less consistent with goals. So you can see we have had our alternatives put on this heat map to be able to understand how these alternatives could perform, and we had a lot of discussions with the community and stakeholders about the alternatives. Just a reminder of the alternatives that we analyzed. When we talked to the community and the stakeholders about these alternatives, we knew that we would likely, through the detailed evaluation, understand which segments of each alternative really performed well. And we also received a lot of feedback on particular segments that Luke stepped through, I believe, 2 months ago with you all, and really had that discussion of how each segment performed. And based on that analysis, using this detailed evaluation framework from the 5 goals, we evaluated 24 objectives of each segment of the highest performing segments. And so this information will be a part of the final technical report as a part of the completion of the project. So through the last year and a half, we have conducted a robust amount of engagement. So just to summarize, we've held 19 public events, 15 pop-up events. We've engaged close to 500 folks through those events, 24 targeted stakeholder meetings, and a good amount of responses online through surveys and map-based engagement. And the red dots are the open houses on the map, and the blue dots are all of the pop-up events. And here is a quick summary of the stakeholder engagement, both the Northeast and South stakeholders, along with stakeholders a part of both corridors. And so a lot of really good conversations that have helped inform the development of our alternatives and our locally preferred alternative we're recommending today. So since we were here last, we conducted the last round of public engagement. And just to summarize the feedback that we received, I'd say overall a lot of excitement and support for BRT service in the corridors. Folks really excited about the access to health care centers and educational facilities in particular. Really excited about BRT providing more reliable and frequent service. The employment opportunities, folks are very excited to have access to, and then importantly, service to historically disadvantaged populations. So with that, I'm handing it over to Luke to step through our recommended alternatives.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank y'all. One of the exciting things as we went through the last round of public engagement and pop-up events and stakeholder engagement is the questions were not centered around the corridor. Those questions were centered around how do I get to the corridor, what parking facilities are there, and just overall excitement of the alignment. So we heard a really strong convergence of a lot of the feedback that we saw over this last round was really just excitement over where the routes are and less so questions about the route itself, which is great. So want to take some time and step through the corridor. Specifically, we'll talk about some of the changes too. This map looks very familiar, I'm sure, just to you all from the last time we talked. So a few things that have changed since the last time we talked is the RTA alignments have been more refined. So they've presented a locally preferred alternative to the RTA board, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then also, we have some changes specifically through Automobile Alley from the stakeholder engagement, so we'll talk about that as well. But as a reminder, the Santa Fe station downtown is kind of going to be the epicenter of this corridor, and then we see 2 potential opportunities to overlap with RTA service, both at 13th and Southwest 29th. You can see the little red circles around there, so those are opportunities to connect the 2 different systems. The Maps for BRT corridor is going to start on the southwest side of on this map at the Amazon warehouse or at the industrial district to the on that corner, heading north on South May by OCCC, east on Southwest 59th, and then north on Western by Integris, then east on Southwest 29th by Capitol Hill, and then up Shields through the downtown and Automobile Alley to Northwest 13th. East on Northwest 13th by the VA and OU medical facility, and then up North Kelly, east on 23rd, and then up MLK towards the Adventure District. So a couple things to note on the map itself. The solid lines will be areas that we're going to see dedicated facilities. We'll talk about that on the next slide. And the dashed lines are areas that will have mixed traffic bus rapid transit, where they'll share a lane with the general purpose traffic. The dots on the map are general station location pairs that will be further evaluated as part of the next phase of the project. And one other thing to mention, the red lines, like I pointed out at the beginning, are the RTA, the Regional Transportation Authority corridors that are under study. That team reached a locally preferred alternative for the east and the airport line. So you can see now both the line to the west on Western and the line to the west on Reno to Will Rogers Airport. Those are hot off the press as of last month. So you can see how all of these systems, all these high capacity transit systems start to work together, which is really exciting. A couple other things to note. From end to end, this corridor is 17 miles. There's 26 station pairs that we show on the map itself. And there's about 50,000 jobs and residents that we're connecting with this project. So really exciting, great connectivity. Mentioned a little bit about facility types. With Northwest Rapid, you've seen two of these, both the mixed traffic model on the left and the business access and turn lane model in the middle. So those type of facilities will determine either a dedicated facility or a mixed traffic facility. One thing that we're excited about specifically on Shields is looking at a center running opportunity for bus rapid transit. So from downtown to Capitol Hill, we have an opportunity to have a dedicated center running BRT lane that'll be part of the next phase of the project to further evaluate. But we see a great opportunity to avoid turning conflicts and really increase the speed between downtown and Capitol Hill. So from a station standpoint, very similar aesthetics and amenities to Northwest Rapid and what you've seen at Streetcar. So again, we're going to have an elevated platform that'll have level boarding. Also have shelters, benches. Your ticketing will occur at the station itself, not on the vehicle. And opportunity to park your bike, and then also trash receptacles. So very similar to what you've seen on Northwest Rapid. One of the things that we wanted to show today as well is some renderings of what potential stations could look like. So on the left is an example of the planned BRT station pairs at the Adventure District. So this is on the southwest corner of the Science Museum. So you can see the two platforms on the far side of the intersection. So you can see kind of the context and how that fits from a sizing standpoint. Similarly, on the right is an example of a rendering at OCCC on the south side of the corridor, so you can see kind of how that would interface with the road and how it interfaces with OCCC as well. From a service standpoint, we're anticipating similar service to Northwest Rapid. So from during your weekday and Fridays, 12-minute headways from 6:30 to 7 p.m. And then after those hours will be a little bit longer headways at 30 minutes. And then 15-minute headways on the weekends. With a service like this, it's really anticipated that you're not as worried about the schedule, and you're really focused about getting to the station. And then once you're there, a vehicle will arrive fairly soon. So with that 12-minute service, that provides that opportunity that a vehicle is only within a few minutes from once I arrive. So that's a critical element for ridership, which I've seen a lot of success with Northwest Rapid because of that.
So to conclude, I want to talk about the potential benefits and implementation. We conducted a cost-benefit analysis, which is an industry standard way to kind of evaluate the overall cost and how it will benefit the region and the community. And so really good news, it scored really well, which is exciting because that gives Central Oklahoma the option to pursue federal funding because through the BCA, we understand that the project is competitive for federal discretionary grants. And so what goes into that benefit cost analysis are things like the community benefits, the jobs that the project would create, the increase to property values, better connectivity with these regional services that Luke described, the overall reduction of congestion, cleaner air, increased safety. All of these things are quantified through this BCA process. And then finally, rider benefits, comfortable ride, higher quality station amenities, increased reliability. And then finally, also what goes into the BCA is auto user savings from less wear and tear on personal vehicles for transit ridership. So just wanted to share those potential benefits, which goes really into the next steps. And this is the last slide to conclude in terms of the timeline. So what we're showing on the screen here is the adoption of the LPA. And then what would happen after that would be what we call pre-project development activities. So this is work that the MAPS4 and the Transit Agency would conduct together in coordination with the Federal Transit Administration to be able to further understand the competitiveness of the project and how it would score with FTA, the Federal Transit Administration's Small Starts program that funds these BRT projects. So that work would happen in coordination with FTA, some STOPS modeling work to really understand ridership. And then the next step would be advancing the project into preliminary engineering and environmental to work through a lot of the details that Luke mentioned about exact station placement and other engineering items. And so with that, then anticipated construction would start somewhere in 2028 to be concluded in 2029. So those are the next steps on the project. And with that, happy to answer any questions and open up for discussion.
Questions? Any questions? Monique, did you have a question? No? I thought you were grabbing your microphone, so, okay. Anything?
I'm excited about this project.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really neat, really great.
Teresa, I just have one question, matter of curiosity. With the number of stops that you have, will there be signal coordination so that the bus can rapidly move through? There are a lot of traffic lights along that route.
So your question was in regards to just optimizing bus flow through some of these corridors that have heavy traffic?
Yes, and I'm thinking if I'm driving in my own car, if I hang with the bus, can I get through the signal quickly and get where I'm going? So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the MAPS4 is also implementing transit signal prioritization, which will have a significant impact on this project as well. That provides prioritization for buses as they traverse through these corridors. So it'll be a good idea to draft a bus if you're taking your own vehicle to get through these corridors. Specifically on the map, we pointed out a couple areas we'll have dedicated BRT lanes as well. So that'll especially help with making a bus ride more competitive or similar to taking your personal vehicle through the corridors. So between the transit signal prioritization and some of those dedicated lanes along the corridors, over 50% of the locally referred alternative is dedicated. So that provides a significant opportunity to have a fast ride.
Unfortunately, Bob, you're going to have to slow down to be able to drive the bus.
I do have a question. Is there like a park and ride area on the northeast side that will be there, or?
Great question, and we talked about that yesterday in the subcommittee. We're not showing on the map any park and rides, but the project team has been considering and talking about park and rides both at the northeast terminal and down in the south as well. And so that's going to be further assessed and analyzed in the preliminary engineering phase, but our working assumption is there would be some kind of park and ride at both terminals, at north and south.
I have a
And
question.
again, this is just I'm sorry, Chelsea, go ahead.
No worries. Mine might be more for MAP's office and David. So my understanding is that what we're voting on today is the approval of Kimley Horn to continue through the engineering process. But then it sounds like you mentioned we might still need to pursue funding for the actual construction. Is my understanding correct on that?
So this is for approval for the locally preferred alternative, not for us to continue the next phase. David can speak to that, but I believe that's a separate procurement.
Yeah, there'll be presumably a contract amendment with them to do that. And yes, there's still, as Jill mentioned, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the next item, but we do feel like pursuing federal funding is an advantage. Again, in the vein of leveraging MAPS for money to get more. And in order to do the whole alignment, yes, there will be other funding.
And based on the BCA work and our, analysis, we think that the project's really competitive for FTA's Small Starts program.
Mine, I think, is also a question of curiosity, but, so on the dedicated lanes, how's that gonna work? I mean, do you have like barriers, or how do you keep people like Bob from driving on the dedicated?
Yes, so Northwest Rapid currently has business access and turn lanes today through different portions. So there's different striping improvements and there's signage improvements. There won't be a hard barrier, but that lane will specifically be used for transit vehicles and then people taking right-hand turns into developments.
Okay.
But there won't be a solid barrier
Okay, got
for those portions.
Okay.
The center running guideway will look a little bit different because we won't have the turning aspect because there won't be left turns into developments for that section of Shields because it's all grade separated. So that'll look a little bit different, but for the most part, the dedicated lanes will look very similar to Northwest Rapid
Okay.
from an implementation standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, very interesting presentation. Thank you so much. So with that, we need a motion and a second to approve recommendation. Please cast your votes.
I missed last meeting.
Having to remind yourself how to do this. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2F, recommend approval of engineering services contract with Kimley Horn Associates for the MAPS 4 Transit Planned Growth Long-Range Transportation Plan in the value of $2,063,408.
So this is mostly separate from what you just saw. This is some long-range planning that Embark needs, and Kimley Horn will be doing that, and there's a lot of pieces to this. But the big news is that Embark was able to get a $600,000 grant from ACOG, and that is part of this. So if you'll see in the memo under source of funds, roughly 1.5 of it is MAPS 4, and then the 600,000 is through the grant. But it allows them to do work, studies, including the Regional Transit Authority and FTA, some software modeling. Grant assistance is the big piece of this, that there's been some money pulled up so that they can help for the very thing that we just discussed, Chelsea, about getting federal funds to do the BRT and some other projects. So a lot of moving parts in this, but this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Okay, any questions? Discussion? Okay, not, I take a motion in a second. Please cast your votes. The motion passes. Thank you. And moving on to item 2G, recommend approval of amendment number 4 to contract for professional consulting services with ADG of an increase of $2,784,780.01.
So remember that ADG is essentially an extension of the MAPS office. They perform a lot of functions and have a lot of people helping us. They do plan review, they help us with planning through the projects, they help us with construction administration. They have people in the field right now. They have somebody out at the Coliseum. They'll have somebody looking at sidewalks, all the projects that we have ongoing, and they also help us attend construction meetings and design meetings and those kind of things. This year will be a very busy year as we are poised to have things like the animal shelter in Palomar and Diversion Hub all coming out for bids this year. Several sidewalk projects. The Coliseum continues. Design on nearly everything that we have going on. So again, ADG being an extension of our office, very valuable to what we do.
Okay, any questions? Okay, if not, I take a motion in a second. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, discussion items. Do we have any items for today?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Item 4, Citizens Advisory Board Subcommittee Reports. Any subcommittee reports? Yes, Bob.
The venue subcommittee did not meet this week, but as I'm driving by on the interstates, I can see that the Coliseum construction is really coming along. I appreciate it. David could give us just a brief update on where we are on that.
Sure. Close to having the roof finished, and it's going great out there. It's the full bowl has been enclosed now. The crane has been moved out, so they were able to complete all of that. Should be dry, as we call it, you know, with all the walls and the roof in a couple of months. It's going really well. Just it's on schedule.
And that's pretty amazing given the amount of rain we've had.
It is.
Yeah, that's great.
But it looks very impressive from the roadways. Just I haven't had a chance to get out there, but
Yeah, it
I
does.
appreciate the update.
Yeah, it's really taking shape.
Yeah, good, thank you.
I just wanted to give a quick report on the Civil Rights Museum. We are working on putting together the vision and the timeline, and so we will be moving forward very well here quickly.
Yes. Lots of work going into that project to get it right. Okay, other subcommittee reports? Okay. Update status of the MAPS 4 program. Mr. Todd.
I kind of hit on the highlights just then, but again, a lot of stuff in design. This is going to be a very busy year with things that are coming out and starting construction. You know, we're underway with the mental health, the design on that stuff. I'm going through my head here. The design is ongoing with the multipurpose stadium. So everything is on track.
Moving along. Okay. Thank you. Item 6, comments from board, staff, and citizens. At this time, I'd like to welcome Ryan Cross. He's our newest Citizens Advisory Board member. We're thrilled to have you. Thanks for agreeing to join this wonderful, fun group. We're not too hard. And then also to let you all know that our Citizens Advisory Board member from Ward 1, Russell Pace, has resigned from the board, but the councilman quickly got us another person, so we're not going to be down anybody for long. That individual will go to City Council, I believe, next 2 weeks, for approval of City Council, so hopefully we'll be able to join us for July. So we will finally have a full Citizens Advisory Board. So really appreciate that. Did we have any citizens sign up to speak? Okay.
I have one thing.
Yes.
Remember that because of the 4th of July holiday, the meeting is moved a week and it'll be July 11th.
Okay, and all the subcommittees meeting as well.
Subcommittees, yeah, are right before that.
Yeah. Anything else? Yes, Bob.
Yeah, just, we might take a moment to reflect on the sacrifices made 80 years ago on D-Day, so it's an important day to remember.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you for that. Other comments?
What subcommittee is Ryan serving?
What subcommittee are you on?
Subcommittee.
Okay, yep. With me. Awesome. Okay. We didn't meet this week, so. Any other questions, comments? Bob, thank you for that reflection. If not, moving on to item 7, we are adjourned.